that. Let's get to everything. Okay, so they said about the candidate information. He's just a Democrat. Very simple. Okay. Let's go to... Let's go to his FEC filings. Okay, there's nothing there too interesting. Let's see how much money he's raised. Okay. Okay. Well, he hasn't raised anything yet. I'm going to show you so you don't be like, oh, Nosy, you're just being mean. I'm not being mean. It's right here. So under finances, says we don't have John Badger Roberts for 2027 through 2028. It said they could be uploading, but we don't have anything. We're going to go to year 2025. And again, they don't have anything for how much he's raised. He did start his election, so that's okay. But the reason why it's kind of concerning is because he did state that he had used his own $40,000 and now he's down to $36,000. So we'll just wait for those filings to come in. When you go here to the website, you can click. This is very important just for any candidate. You can click money raised. You can click cash flow, and you can click cash summary. So you can click all of those, how much he raised, how much he spent, and his summary. He hasn't not uploaded those yet, so we don't have those. So when he does, we'll be able to see them, but they don't tell his credentials. Now I want to make that clear. These don't tell his credentials. FEC is specifically for campaign finance money. So he said that we can check here. It is not here. You cannot check here for his credentials, at least not where I saw, but I'll try again. Give me a second. I'll try again. Maybe I'm just ignorant to the website, but I truly am not. But let's try again. So we're just going to go search. Yeah. So when you go back to the main page, these are the only three markers. So this is a search campaign finance. This says help for the candidate and committee. And then this says search legal resources. There is nothing here that shows candidates' credentials. He said go to his website. We went to his website. There was nothing there. So let's hear how else we could find out what this man does.
But I feel that my credentials should matter when our president now doesn't even have a high school diploma. So why are you concerned about mine?
Hold on.
And say student search. I learned this just last week.
So I want to rewind it back because I want to hear him say it in its entirety.
Well, so there is several places you can see my credentials. You can first go to the school laws themselves. And you can actually Google that person, go into the search bar and say student search. I learned this just last week. And you can actually search a student that actually been there, and they'll actually tell you what they did and when they finished. You can actually go to fec.gov. You can actually go to my website at elect.
The first part, he doesn't say what website to go to the student search. He doesn't tell us where. He just says you can go to the student search, but he doesn't say where we go to the student search. He then states you can go to fec.gov, which again, you cannot check there for his credentials. You can only check there for his campaign finances, what he's spending on a daily basis and how much he's raising. The third place he says to go is his website, but we went to his website, his credentials aren't there. And I'm trying to give the guy a leg up. So I want him to come back online and tell us, how do we find your credentials? Can you just show us your diploma?
JohnBadger.com. But I feel that my credentials should matter when our president now doesn't even have a high school diploma.
The president does have a high school diploma. Donald Trump is a cheater and a scallywag, but his degrees are real. They're real. He went to Fordham. He dropped out. He went to the Waldorf School, Penn's Waldorf School of Business, and he got his bachelor's. Donald Trump does have credentials, regardless of who cheated and wrote his test and did his test for him, or if he was just a straight D student. It doesn't matter. He graduated from those universities. He withheld his transcripts and threatened to sue the schools if they release their transcripts, even though presidents typically release their transcripts. He threatened to sue the schools if they release his transcripts for whatever reason, but they only, the Waldorf school did state he graduated, but we don't want to get sued. But he did graduate. Now, we can't tell you his grades, but we can tell you the nigga got a diploma. That's all we know. You know what I mean? So it is true. But Donald Trump does have a high school diploma and a bachelor's degree.
So why are you concerned about mine?
Thanks. So one of the Common Cousins, what do you believe is the greatest threat facing the United States, and how will you address it?
World War III. That's the greatest threat facing the country right now. We have a problem with racism.
What schools did I attend? I got my GED, and then I attended Lakeland Community College in Mentor, Ohio, and I got my associate's degree in science, and then I attended Elmhurst University, and I got my degree in political science.
And no one wants to
You
talk
can look
about
that up.
But we're going to have to talk about it. There's going to have to be a seat at the table. And let me be the one to let you know that I'm going to create that space. And we're going to have a word. Because racism either going to be stopped, or we're going to draw the red line. Just like they draw the red line. And if you don't want to be around us, it's two ways you can get up out of here. Land and air. Bye-bye. We're not dealing with it.
That's good right there.
Sounds crazy.
So you just basically talked about the police officers and cameras and things like that. What type of screenings can we look forward to when hiring police officers, people that are in higher positions? What type of screenings can we look forward?
So, first of all, starting out with the police is already existing. Every officer that is on the force as of today, I don't care if they've been on there for 90 years, will have to take a constitutional course because they take an oath to serve the Constitution, but don't even know what it is. They take an oath to protect the Constitution, but yet they protect state laws. They protect.
Okay. I don't like police like the next guy, okay? I most certainly don't. But police take an oath to their state constitutions. That's what that not the U.S. Constitution, the state constitution. Federal officers, CIA, FBI, U.S. Secret Service, military members take an oath to the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution. Police officers take an oath to the state. Every state has a constitution. That's that 10th Amendment in the U.S. Constitution that says if we don't know what the law is, we leave it to the states' rights. That's the 10th Amendment. That's what gives each state their governing body. It gives them their constitution, right? If you want to get a hunting license, it's not in the U.S. Constitution because it didn't exist when the Constitution was made. That's what states' rights do. The states' rights have the right to govern the things that our founding fathers didn't know would exist in 150 years. They didn't know driver's licenses would exist. So that's why they said, well, we'll leave that to the states. Things are going to come up in 150 years that we're not going to even be privy to. So we're going to give the states the rights to govern specific things like driver's licenses, fishing licenses, stuff like that, right? Simple things that our forefathers didn't know, but police officers take an oath, even though they violate it every day, they take an oath to their state constitution.
Policies. And policies is not the Constitution. Okay? So that's the problem we are having today. And everyone, like I said, every officer there, new or old, will have to go back to school. Take a constitutional class. And if they refuse, they will be immediately fired in this place. And the payments they're receiving today will drop drastically if they do not take that course. If they're not in that course within the 6-month period after I hit that seat, and this is your jurisdiction, their payments will drop drastically. We are not giving them all this money.
I want to take this guy so seriously, but I'm having a hard time. Like, I mean, I'm taking him seriously, but I'm just like, there's just so many red flags, and this is
To misuse us or do what they want to do. No, you're going to learn the Constitution. The Constitution needs to be learned.
He's right, though.
So
He's right. He's right about the police. The police do need better training. They do, and their training should be governed by the federal government, not the state. But they're going to fight you tooth and nail on that. But I mean, I see where he's going with it.
To actually do your job and stop lying and saying you're going to protect the Constitution when the Constitution has hurt us for 400 years and continue today.
Roro, please, not right now, Roro. Not right now, Roro.
Seeing the things that has happened with our elect official now, Mr. Donald Trump, and seeing how pretty much anything is allowed now in politics. How hard, with background and everything, do you feel as though you stand a chance when it comes to this upcoming election, going up against different people and the things that they have allowed? Do you feel like that it's going to be hard?
I feel like that if I'm like this right here, if you paint a line before me, I'm gonna walk it. So I say this right here. They come at me sideways, I'm going back the other way. Okay?
What does that mean?
I'm gonna try to take the high road, but I'm gonna meet them where they stand. So wherever they want to go with this is where I'm willing to go with this. And yes, I'm already prepared for that. I'm prepared to be called young. I'm prepared to be saying I'm not this. I'm prepared to be saying you're this, you're that, you're incompetent. I'm prepared for all those things because you have to understand, and everybody has to understand, I'm a black man in America. I was born guilty of everything. You have to clear out.
Right. So I do have one of my followers downstairs, Jeremy, and he stated that he keeps hearing us, and he is a Caucasian man. So is this election PowerPoints just strictly for one race? Because votes consist of all. So is there a focus point for Caucasians as well as African Americans, or is
there is points for everybody out there? I speak of us because I'm here with a group of us. And if that offends you, I apologize. That is not my goal. My goal is not to X out those people. I have them in my family, all in my family. As a matter of fact, I have biracial nieces and nephews. My sister-in-laws and brother-in-laws are Caucasian. I have nothing against Caucasian people, but I say us because I'm in here with us. But I have, and those policies that apply to us will apply to you too. I'll say this right here, though. If you're one of those racist ones, then if there's going to be an issue for you here in America, I'm going to let you know that right now. We're not doing it anymore. We're going to have to stop that. When I say equalness all across the board. I'm going for the highest office in the world. And this office is going to be equal. It's going to be equally color worked. It's going to be equal pay. And I'm talking about equal when I say woman, man, woman, or whatever you want to call them. They will be equal all across the board. I will not take the foolishness from anyone. And
he needs to hire a speechwriter. He needs to hire a speechwriter. He desperately needs to hire somebody who will deliver his talking points for him, because he's all over the place. He's like here and there and everywhere. He needs to hone in his message very clearly. You know what I mean? Like, that's why Obama was so effective, because before Obama was a politician, he was a writer. He knew how to write. He knew how to convey a message. Obama didn't have speechwriters. He had editors who edited his work grammatically, but he wrote every last one of his speeches, every last one of them, because he enjoyed it and he believed in it, right? You can say what you want to say about Obama. The nigga can talk, and he could talk to a lot of crowds of people. He talked his way to the White House. So when it comes to elections like the presidency, it's about how you speak. The reason why Donald Trump got elected the second time, I think he cheated. The first time is because he ran his speeches off of populism. Populism is blame somebody else for your issues. That's what populism is. It's going with the most popular narrative and making it into your message. That is what populism is. We've seen that across all different political spectrums, from Fidel Castro in Canada to Netanyahu to Muammar Gaddafi to any of the fractured and new and emerging nations in Africa, and including Bolsonaro and you know, Turkey or whatever, right? Or Erdogan in Turkey. So we've seen populism. It's very popular. You're just saying the most popular catchy things to get voters. Populism works too, but populism goes to the lowest common denominator. You don't have to be quite smart to use populism. You just say stuff that really riles up the base. He needs somebody to write down his talking points. Like, you need to be able to have quick, fast answers like that. Because when you're on the debate stage, you don't get 20 minutes to monologue. You got to be able to say, okay, Mr. Badger, what are you going to do about the homelessness issues and the housing issues in the United States? You got to be able to give a quick, fast soundbite and move on to the next person. You know, we want to work with the Department of HUD and state and local governors in order to be able to maximize how much money we give to HUD using already distributed tax dollars. And we want to make sure we appoint individuals across all the states to make sure that those funds are being used properly, and those housing, albeit they are going to be built quick and fast, we want to make sure they're also efficient and safe to get people into housing quickly. We're also going to be working with different, you know, individuals in finance to make sure that dark money doesn't get into our, you know, our pool of homes that we do have available. We can't keep allowing these private equity firms to buy up all the available homes in America. We're going to work with those banks too to make sure that they're not lending out tons and tons of money to make sure private equity isn't purchasing the available homes. That's how you get a quick soundbite out. Like, you can't just be like, and you know what? And he's monologuing at this point. You got to give people the answers they want to hear quickly, because that's how votes work. You're only in the voting booth for 5 minutes. I'm not in the voting booth listening to your entire speech.
And these high-ranking jobs you see all across the board, it's all Caucasian. We're not doing it anymore. When I say equal, there will be equal everybody. You can. I don't know about.
Okay, and then the last point I wanted to make before I hit play, he also needs to start talking about meeting people in the middle. That is how a presidential election is won. You already have your base. You already have the people who are going to vote for you. They're called line item voters. If you're a Republican, they're going to vote for Republican. They don't really care what you say. If you're a Democrat, they're going to vote a Democrat. Those are line item voters. That means that when they get in a voting booth, they just go down the line. You don't have to worry about them. You have to worry about the group of undecided voters, the independent voters in the middle. So when he says polarizing stuff like, well, we're not going to let Caucasians do this. Yeah, understandable. You may not, but you got to wait till you get to the White House to start issuing those type of talking points. When your voting base is corely in the middle, you have to talk to everyone like they all matter, even if it's a lie. I'm not saying lie. I'm just saying talk to everyone like it matters. Like, oh, when the person in the comments asks, are these talking points only for black people? I'm a white guy. I assume that person's a white guy. That's what Ms. Nitra said. His answer should have been, my policy is for everyone. My policy is to make sure everyone isn't ostracized. He's talking specifically about, oh, because that stuff is done. We're not doing that no more. That makes white people feel threatened. And those are probably the votes that you're going to need. You know what I mean? You don't know who's listening to you. And now you have these sound bites floating all over the place. Now we have these sound bites. And now these sound bites are going to be floating all over the goddamn place. You can't talk like that to voters who are undecided and confused. You just got to pander to everyone in the middle. If you're a Democrat, you're already going to have your Democratic voters. If you're a Republican, you already have your Republican voters. Those are not your focus. Your focus is the people in the middle who decide elections. Independents and undecided voters decide elections, not people who are already separated down the party lines. It's that simple. And he's talking crazy.
Let's just keep it real. And I understand someone said, being a Caucasian, that they didn't feel like my policy was for them. Let's keep it real. For 400 years, we haven't had no policies. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to run for my people, but I'm protecting you as well.
So I had a question. He's already answered about the immigrants. I'm sorry. We already covered that. So gun violence, people violence. open carry states, things of that nature. And I do believe that the government got a little loose with the gun laws. What is it about the laws that you like and that you dislike? And do you feel as though there needs to be a change with the open carry states?
Being where I am today, and I say this because I have experienced this myself, here in Louisiana, certain people can go in stores.
Tap the screen if you guys can. Is it good to you? Because it's interesting to me. Okay, tap the screen if you can.
Outside, and certain people can't. They become a threat when they go in certain stores, and they're carrying like the person just walked out of there. There's a possibility that the police might be called on you. There's a possibility that you might be unalive. So there's a good question. Again, I said the law should apply to everybody. Now, here's what I will say. Open carry into public places should not be a thing anymore. Because now, the way things are going, where churches are being...
And there he has lost his election. You cannot talk to 2A people like that. Those are people who support the Second Amendment. You can't talk like that. Those 2A people are crazy. And mind you, the majority of individuals who own hand pew-pews are liberals. California has the most pew-pew owners. Here in Arizona, pretty liberal state. A bunch of wild liberals with pew-pews. Not wild like they're shooting people and stuff, but you understand what I'm trying to say?
People are being attacked in the streets. I feel that anytime a person bring a weapon to a public place, they bring it there for a reason. And
that's true.
Those reasons, and clearly, if we look in our past, anytime a
Thank you, Tyra. Clock in.
School, it was utilized. Anytime a pium was brought to a mall, it was time a pium went to a church, it was utilized. Anytime one came to a protest, it was utilized. So I feel that we should restrict gun laws to a minimum. I feel that it's okay for anybody that want one should have one to take care of their home and vehicle. But once you go into a public place, if you don't know how to put your set up and throw your hands, stay at home.
Right. One of the Company cousins proposed a question about the United States. Will you propose that the United States should engage in a new strategic security plan and talk with China and Russia?
Yes, most definitely. I've already, again, that's in my policy. We actually want to get this tariff.
His policy is not published on his website, just an FYI.
Down. One of the reasons why we want to take off the tariffs so that we can lower the housing projects, so that we can lower the buying projects and cars and everything. Because if the new America going to be purchasing, we need to make sure we're not purchasing in a high rank. We need to bring that down. We need to talk to China. We need to talk to Russia. We need to talk to those people. We need to make sure.
Tariffs don't have anything to do with housing projects. I want to make that clear. Tariffs don't have anything to do with, I don't know where he got that from. Tariffs have nothing to do with housing projects. Housing projects are already built. They're pretty old and decrepit. Tariffs have to do with building of new homes, your clothes, your shoes, gas prices, the manufacturing of cars, steel. That is where tariffs come in, because for the longest time we've been living in free trade, right? You trade with those countries and it does better for your economy if you can trade for free without adding a whole bunch of taxes on it, because tariffs get pushed on to you and me. But tariffs have nothing to do with housing projects. I don't know where he got that from.
So that they understand, hey, look, we don't want a problem with you. He's gone. New person. I want to need some new things. Bring us, we're going to drop these tariffs. If they're willing to work with us, we will work with them. If not, oh well. We're going to keep on pushing.
He said, oh well. No, you literally can't say, oh, well, when it comes to tariffs. You have to work with those. If the president has to spend 30 days and 30 nights in China with President Xi Jinping in order to reduce those tariffs, right? Because when one president raised tariffs, it gives the other country an upper hand when we have an election. Remember, there are no free and fair elections in China, so it's always going to be Xi Jinping. There are no free and fair elections in Russia, even though we don't trade a whole lot with Russia. There's always going to be Vladimir Putin. So they can wait out every president. That is their advantage over the United States, is that every 4 years they get the negotiation rights. We don't. So whatever the last president does, the new president has to come in and counteract those negotiations. And Xi Jinping has the upper hand because he's like, I'm always going to be here. Y'all going to run through 30 motherfucking presidents. I'm still going to be president of China, right? So I get to see what every single president does. Therefore, I have the upper hand. So him saying, oh, well, you can't, oh, well, tariffs. That gets pushed onto the people. So you have to talk about, no, I will aggressively negotiate with China. I will reduce tariffs immediately because China could legally say, no, you can keep tariffs where they are. We're just going to raise ours. And you could be fucked as a president. So you can't just say, oh, well. There's no oh, well when it comes to tariffs, because tariffs govern the economy. If I have to pay more in tariffs, I have less money to spend in the economy. I have less money to shop at local stores. I have less money for groceries. I have less money for activities like going on vacation or going to just buy random things, which boosts the economy. Me having extra liquid money boosts the economy because in economics, it counters in people frivolously spending. That's what boosts the economy. If I see a new nail tech or lash tech on the corner on my street and I have extra cash, I might get my nails done. I might get my hair done. That boosts the economy. Okay? If I have extra cash and I go to the store, I was like, you know what? I will go shopping today. Fuck it. You know? Although I'm spending this money and I could be saving it, I'm going to spend it anyway. I'm going to do it anyway. That is why that's why Americans need to have additional funds. We don't have that. Well, I mean, I have that, but most people don't have that. You understand?
I'm going to get a question in.
Please interview him. Do you think he'll let me interview him? And maybe not. If he's watching this, he's most certainly not going to let me interview him, but I would be happy to interview him.
I want to ask you, kind of backpedal a little bit. Convicted felons. My husband being one, not ashamed to say a part of this interview. Okay. But my husband went to prison on drug charges, right? Almost 30 years ago. But he cannot own a pew-pew. Convicted felons, if you have been convicted, I would like to know, what is your stance or thoughts on people that don't have violent charges and they're convicted felons? Like, they didn't go out and unalive somebody's family, didn't rob somebody for their belongings. And what is your stance on allowing convicted felons one screen to be able to have pew-pews to protect themselves?
That's a great question.
Not only pew-pews. I want to start all the way back from misdemeanors. Misdemeanors should go no further than a year and then be taken off the record. And I'm not talking about you have to go get them paid to get taken off. No, we're going to stop that. We're going to stop that high expungement bill. Sometimes it takes people almost $1,000 to $2,000 to take that gets things off their record. First of all, it's nothing but a piece of paper. Let's stop the high costs. You're packing the system with people's money, and we know what group of people are being targeted the most. Okay, so when I say that right there, I'm not just talking about just misdemeanors. We're going over to felonies as well. People with felonies, if you have a felony and you have been a felony for 3 years and you have not did anything wrong, that felony should be off your record. You should be able to go back to work. You should be able to vote. You should be able to have a pew-pew. You should be able to do whatever you want to do, as long as that felony was not something that you went and hurt somebody with or did something that was egregious and we can't come back from. Different ball game. But we're going to start shortening up the times for misdemeanors. Misdemeanors should not be nothing but 1 year. If you had a misdemeanor on your record, it should be gone in 1 year. That also goes for tickets. So the insurance companies is using tickets to bring our insurance up really high.
That's true.
We're going to stop that system. We're going to stop that we're going to just take that all the way out. What we're trying to do is actually focus on investigating the insurance companies and actually giving people back their money, because a lot of people have been overcharged just for being in a certain area, just for being in a certain zip code. I know I work with several, over 136 insurance companies, and that was one of the biggest things. If you was in a certain zip code, you got charged a certain thing.
I need to see, he talks about a lot of stuff he does, and based off of the lies we caught him in about those prison systems, I need to see what he does. I need to physically see what he does. I need to see what you do. I need to see what you do, because he's doing a lot of yip yapping, and we've already proven that there's only been 2 prisons closed in Texas and 2 prisons closed in what state was that? In Louisiana. And he said he closed 36 prisons. We couldn't find 36. We found 4, and he had nothing to do with them. They had to do with budget cuts that was voted on by those state legislatures. Was he a part of those budget cuts? He's not telling us enough. I'm sorry. He's not telling me enough. And I'm concerned if people have given him money. But based off his campaign finance laws, it doesn't look like he's gotten any money from any people. So I'm not too concerned, because he hasn't raised any money, and he hasn't produced those campaign, he hasn't produced the receipts for it yet. So I can't imagine anybody's giving him any money, because I haven't seen any.
So I do have a question. Now, earlier you said something about
really what, Roro?
Removing pew-pews altogether, but some people gonna have a hard problem with giving up their protection, walking in the store with it. Some people are in the store with that protection because those fools that do bring it in because they want to pew-pew the whole school. I believe that there should be door security inside and outside of every education system, every school, colleges.
They wouldn't do that because white people don't want their kids to feel like they're being policed. When I went to high school, I went to East Tech. And yeah, we had police officers outside our school and metal detectors. That was the norm. That was normal for us. So when I went and visited friends at their suburban high schools, I was like, oh, y'all ain't got metal detectors? My friends were like, why do we have metal detectors? I was like, oh, I do. So it's a very normative thing, but white people aren't going to do that because they don't want their kids to feel like they're being policed, even though based off statistics, they should have metal detectors.
Kids school, pre-K daycares. I do believe that there should be standing security at these schools every single day.
His name, hold on, I'll pull up his thing. This guy, this sweater cracks me up. His name is John Badger. Why he's wearing a half jacket, I don't know, but I think it's so funny to me. But this is his name. His name is John Robert Badger, and he's running for president in 2028.
With that being said, I believe that teachers should have pew-pews in their desks. So how do you accommodate that feeling? Because teachers should be able to have a pew-pew at school, because a lot of these school unalivers, teachers are in the classroom barricaded with the kids with no protection. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I'll say this for one. In this day and climate with the children that's out there that's not getting the in-home punishment, that's going to school, doing whatever they like. I take that child and I put them in a classroom and I say, okay, we're going to put them with a young lady or young man who has inside mental issues that we don't know about. And we have gave them a pew-pew to protect our children. Now our children become a victim.
Good. That's a good point.
Yeah, he does make a good point.
Like it's a scale.
That's something I would never ever do with a teacher. Now, with the security being in the schools, they're already there. What we have to do is take out the scary security and put some in there that actually don't mind about running into the problems. Because those are the problems we had in Texas when I was in Texas just not long ago. They had a gang load of security at the school. They ran out the school behind the trees.
He's talking about Uvalde.
And waited until the last shot was fired. And then they wanted to go in. So that's the problem we're having. We're not having an issue with the police. We're having issues. They're scary. But yet, you go to a woman and you want to utilize your abusive force on her.
Hey, goddess.
But when a man with a firearm that you score to protect from other people, you have a problem. So it's not that they're not there. It's that they're scary.
Right. This is good to me. I'm glad I asked you that question so I could get that answer, that response. That's a good response, because a lot of people will not want to send their children to school knowing that there is a teacher there. You don't know her screening. So I do think that we should have that. So now I want to dig a little deeper. Childbirth, abortions. We know and we have heard that now women can't do what they want with their bodies, certain areas. Some of these women are victims of SA, and this gets deep. And being able or being told that you cannot get rid of a rapist child is disheartening. What are your thoughts on forced forced births, basically? How do you feel about the abortion?
So that's also my policy. I feel that no man should ever control a woman's body.
That's good.
I feel
hey,
like
Des,
this right
how
here.
You guys?
That law should never, ever, ever, ever touch the table. I didn't give you life. It is not my stance to try to control yours. Look, I feel like this right here. We cannot. We got to stop that. That's what's wrong with America today. We want to control everything and everybody. That's your body. That's your body. You should be able to say and do what you wish with your body. So when it comes to those, I will just restrict them completely from the law and try to put it in a law where women can do what they wish with their body. You got to stand before God and stand account for what you do. And I got to stand and account for what I do. So, you have people out there doing it just because they don't want to be pregnant. You'll have to be accounted for that. I will not tell you what you can and cannot do. I will not do that. So, and that's just off the table for me. I can't control that. And I won't.
Okay. It looks like somebody went and dug and asked people in Monroe if they knew you. The world is big, y'all. The world is big. Can you imagine living somewhere and everybody don't know? Maybe his motion isn't out there like that yet, and it's going to take a community of people to get behind him so he can be known. That's why we're here, is to get the exposure that he needs to be put in a higher position. See, some of the people...
But here's the thing. Now, I agree with Ms. Nitra. If he is running for any elected position, he should be able to use his local, content creators' platforms to help do that. But he had already admitted that he's not posting what he does in his community on his website. That was noted at like the 25-minute mark. So if somebody's in the comments saying, well, we don't know you, it's because of his own doing. That is because of his own doing. He made it clear, I will not be posting what my community activism on my webpage. He said that. Those were his words. So if people will be like, well, I don't know you. And he has every right to go to any platform and promote himself. But I wouldn't defend him because he had already said, well, I'm not doing that. And he said, I'm not doing interviews either. I declined interviews. So when people are like, well, I don't know you and I'm from Monroe, that is his fault. That's his fault. Why his community doesn't, quote unquote, know him. Right or wrong, chat?
Or quiet for reason. I just think that it takes a team, a community, a village.
Louisiana.
He's not there yet. And that's why he's here to get there. So no, everybody probably don't know him, but we're hoping that by the time 2028 gets here, that he will be known. That's the prayer, is to get him known. How do you feel about things like that when people say, oh, we don't know you? I've Googled you. I don't know you. I've never heard of you. Don't nobody in my town know you. And then you state that you've done all these things and you shut down all these prisons and all that. How do you deal with that type of backlash?
I don't. I let people say what they're going to say, because at the end of the day, Ms. Nitra, one thing.
Hold on, let me read one of your questions. I saw a question pop up. It's by Taylor, the creator. Taylor, the creator, said, why do y'all say he's not a leader or wouldn't vote for him the way he talks, ? Just curious. No, I wouldn't vote for him because of a couple of things. And I'll read you the notes that I wrote. What's up, Empress? Empress, you're going to want to recap this later tonight. So I'll tell you why. Now, let me just give you a recap of what we're listening to. So we're listening to a guy by the name,